One of the dynamics that all of this is happening within today is, call it a pressure cooker, whatever. Things are happening faster than ever. Every C-level executive that comes onto this podcast, I ask the question, what are your two greatest challenges for creating long-term sustainable growth? More and more, I'm getting answers about keeping up, keeping pace, keeping ahead of the competition in a world where with AI coming in and everything, everything is happening so quickly. We're under pressure more than we ever have been before. And how do we adapt to that environment? And how does that play into what you're talking about and what we need to be doing as a result and acknowledge that's the atmosphere that we're in today?
I think first and foremost, pressure reveals behavior. It's what gets noticed when everything's fine or not. How does behavior under pressure actually adjust, to your point, the need of more adaptability? I think for the longest time, Steve, you go back last 10, 20 years, everybody knows what IQ is. It's what you're born with. And then there was this big explosion on EQ and everyone had to be more emotionally intelligent. Okay, all right, we're more emotionally intelligent. And IQ and EQ, that's what you to scale you. As we continue to see such changes in the world we're in, and obviously with AI as well, you've got to look at all of the factors of intelligence that make a big part into the adaptability, the word you use. Something we talk about in the growth code. It's called the intelligence seesaw. And if you think of the fulcrum being cultural intelligence, certainly in the enterprise world, you can show up to people's meetings virtually or in person, and you don't necessarily know who you're meeting or what age, race, religion, ethnic background they're from. And having a very strong understanding of cultural intelligence is critical, which is why it's the fulcrum. And then when you think about how do you use that balance, IQ, yes, is important, EQ, yes, and your SQ in terms of your ability to be able to move around in a room. But the most important thing is now is to be able to pivot in the moment. Understand, again, with the observational learnings, with the information that we now have available to us in abundance, how are you adapting in those moments in real time when the situation is changing or something is coming at you? I think the single biggest skill going forwards, coupled with observational learning, is adaptability under pressure. And we all face it, but it's how does that show up? In what ways do we need to start being able to use it? And I really think that under high pressure situations, I think the people that can learn to understand adaptability as an intelligence are the ones that I think they're going to have the biggest success going forward. I really do.
I used to have this boss talk about a story, right? So I had this boss, and he always say, a system under pressure reveals its flaws. And I would
Yeah.
always think of like a pipe, like in your house, that when it got too much pressure, it would, like, maybe if the pipes froze or something, it would burst, and it would burst at
Yeah.
a seam, right? It would reveal the flaw
Right.
at that moment. And what
100%.
I'm thinking about is what you're saying here is that we really need to think about, we can't just say, okay, we know things are happening faster. We have to actually have a plan to adapt to that environment. And if we don't have a plan to adapt to that environment, then we're just going to be a system that's under pressure that just starts revealing all of our flaws. What do we have to do to adapt? If adaptability is a key today, what do we need to learn from that? What do we need to take away from what you're saying?
Honestly, I think it starts with self-evaluation, Steve. Most importantly, I think it's about how are you evaluating or who else are you leaning on to help evaluate you on your most difficult days, not just your easy ones. I think you've got to be open to feedback. You've got to be open to advice, and you've got to allow people trusted close to you in those moments of pressure to help you understand how you're showing up. For me, adaptability is the intelligence of the modern leadership world. I really do. That is going to be the thing that scales a great leader in today's world, is their ability to adapt on the most difficult days where you really have to take those moments to self-evaluate. How did I show up? I call this the weather in the room. What is the weather you set in the room? Because you're responsible for the weather in every room you walk into. I really believe that. And I think that's a big part of it. How, when you walk in, how do you use that immediate moment to adapt in the environment you're in? So I think adaptability as an intelligence that modern leadership is critical. I really do.